Hello, my friends. Long time no see, especially here in this particular medium. But a new patch for HOTS dropped today, and I gotta say, I've been hearing a crazy amount of chatter, buzz, noise, hullabaloo, anything and everything in between about this patch. And I've tried to go all day, not learning any information about it. Unfortunately, was not fully successful. You know, it's just, I feel like every Discord I look at, everywhere I go, I was just scrolling by on Reddit earlier, and there's all these posts about it, so I did, against my will, learn a little bit about this patch here, but I have done my best to come into this here tonight as unaware as possible, because I'm just seeing crazy reactions all over the place, and once I saw the tenor of these reactions while I was at work, I said, nope, I don't want to hear any more, let me wait until I get home. So let's go ahead and take a look here. What do we have in the September 2nd, 2025 PTR patch for HOTS? All right, because I've heard some rumblings. I have a vague idea, but let's actually see. All right, basic cleave and splash attacks will now function more consistently across all heroes. Okay, don't really know how that feels unless we see any specifics, but this looks like the big thing. Forts, keeps, and the core will now grant allied heroes that take damage in their radius 50 armor? Wait, okay. For 4 seconds. This effect has a 4-second cooldown and can only be granted to one hero per structure. Okay. Wait. So right off the bat, my very first thought is that, like, you hit someone with a Tyrande W, you know, something long range and easy to poke with. Maybe like a loose Hanzo scatter or something. That's probably not accurate enough or precise enough for this kind of thing to make sure it's on the right target. But I'm like, you know, I'm thinking Tyrande, Anubarak, this pairing, very good at tower diving. The Tyrande Owls, somebody burns the 50 armor and you go on them. While this armor is in effect, enemy heroes that attack the target will be slowed by 20%. All the more reason to do it. And this kind of takes us back to the old pre-call for help system that slowed targets that were hit by the fort attacks as well. So that's interesting. Honestly, I kind of liked Call for Help. I did miss the old meta of, like, Anubarak just being able to dive someone whenever he wanted because you would just spawn the beetles. This is an interesting sort of halfway point between them, where Call for Help won't be a thing, but you still can't just, like, free solo dive somebody. I don't want to sit here and just talk smack about a change that I really can't think through all the implications of, though, but yeah, starting off strong. I can see why everybody was talking about this change right here. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, Forts, keeps, and core will no longer prioritize an enemy hero when an allied hero is attacked. So that's removing Call for Help, but in exchange making the target way tankier and slowing people who attack them. Mercenary camps now spawn 30 seconds after the match begins, down from 60. Okay, so before, a lot of times, depending on the map, you would clear mid-bot mid, and then you would be able to get some clear. With it happening at 30 seconds, surely this just means mid-bot camp, right? Or do you even have time to do the bot wave? I'm not sure about the exact timing here, but this is kind of crazy. Because, like, I almost wonder if this makes it more viable to run a full PvP comp that has very little macro on just the assumption that you're going to invade and just snowball right out of the gate. Because I remember, if you go back and watch some of my old CCL analysis videos that I did with Cascon, there's one on Garden of Terror in particular, where I think early in the video I really was not feeling the comp, and then they just go and invade level 1, like, or it's level 2 I think by 1 minute, but they invade right out of the gate. And with this, it would be even easier to do that. Like, you would need to hold on for even less time, and then you just sprint at them right at the start of the game. So that's really interesting to me. Small XP globes will now vanish if no allied hero is within 15 radius of the globe. Honestly, I kind of like that, because I hate the feeling of showing up to a lane and there's soak in the middle of the lane and there's soak behind the fort, and it's only the small globes, you know, and it's like I feel obligated to walk over and pick up all the small globes, but I know it's only giving me like 2 minions. So just don't even give me the option. No, I like it. And I also like, how do I put it? Like, with the introduction of the XP globes, it kind of made it a lot easier to double soak. And on the flip side of that, made it a lot harder to punish the other guy and induce the other offlaner into missing soak. So now that's actually going to be more of a thing again, so that's really interesting. It won't be as easy to just play behind from the other person. Obviously, if you're getting small XP, you're getting behind anyway, but now you're going to get even more behind. See, structure health. Okay, structures are just an 8th tankier. Huh, okay. When a hero attacks an enemy structure with a basic attack, minions near the building become inspired and gain 35% attack speed and 35% move speed for 3 seconds? See, my first question actually, are walls enemy structures? Because then something that you could do is, in order to help your previous wave catch up and stack up with the wave in front of it, you could auto-attack a wall and speed up your minion wave. And then suppose you were to combine that with like your Tassadar in front, force walling the wave in front, and that would actually make it a lot easier to do wave manipulation. And then minions will now spawn exactly at 0 and 30. Dude, this is such a nice change for Ragnaros players. I'm sure anybody that's ever looked into Lava Wave on Ragnaros knows that this is nice, because there was actually this very slight issue where minion waves would spawn at a slight offset every time. So it might be like 0 seconds this time and 0 seconds next minute, but then at 2 minutes it might be like, you know, 1 second after the minute mark, and then at 31 seconds, and then as the game went on and on and on, you had to offset the timing of your lava wave that you would cast as Ragnaros in order to pick up the soak. And there would be times where you're sieging enemy core and you're like, okay, when is the minion wave gonna pop up? It might be like 33 seconds and then the minion wave pops up. So I actually really, really like this. It takes out some of the annoying jank with playing Ragnaros. I think there's a whole part of the Icy Veins guide for it and everything. Making the game more consistent, not having to keep track of these rolling timers. I'm a big fan of this change. This, I mean, structures are tankier. This is clearly a huge buff to Split Push and to Death Ball. This is inherently going to make things that control minions like Sylvanas Possession more important. That's, I don't know, man. Like, I've seen a bunch of people talking about this change and taking out Call for Help and adding in this armor, and that's a huge deal. Oh, by the way, I was also thinking this could make armor reduction a really big deal for tower diving as well, because the way that armor works in HOTS is that the more of it that you already have, the more valuable it is. So taking someone from 50 armor to 30 armor is a way bigger deal than taking someone from 0 armor to negative 20 armor. So again, that's a Tyrande thing. Like, I'm really, really thinking that Tyrande might just be the queen of tower dives after this patch. But anyway, I am really, really liking this change. This inspiring minions seems incredibly weird. I don't know if this is Illidan meta or what, but that's insane. Black Bombardment now deals 20% reduced damage to keeps and cores on Blackheart's Bay, okay? I mean, the only change this map needs is to get it out of the pool. I never want to play this garbage map. I'm so sorry, devs. It's a really cool theme. I love Blackheart. I love his energy. But every time I get this map, I'm reminded of why I play Storm League instead. So let's see. Cast time to turn in the coins reduced. 3 treasure chest locations. Oh, snap. And I like it has a standardized first 2 phases, like a lot of other objectives, actually. You now only drop half your coins. Oh, I like that a lot. There are now sight towers near Blackheart? What? Okay, hold on. This actually sounds like this map might be more interesting. If it's less about just objective over everything, it doesn't take a million years to turn in. They were standardized before, but there is just 1 during the first phase now. Like, this map might be a little bit more tolerable to play, or dare I say even good? I don't know, these are actually really intriguing. Hanamura. Payload damage increased by 12.5. Payload now moves 25% faster. Samurai Lane pusher health reduced by 12. Anybody that has been around the HOTS community at a high level knows that we always joke. I say we like I'm part of that community, am I right? But knows that the common joke on Hanamura is that the real objective is the Sentinel camp, aka the Samurai, and the actual payload is a gigantic bait that wastes your time and is not as effective as just getting the camps, which give you a ton of XP and lane pressure. So I really, really like that they are pushing that map in the right direction. I'm really curious to see how fast the payload moves with 3 stacks now, but that seems like a positive change to me. Infernal Shrines, Punishers will no longer leap over gates? What? What are we doing? Not even if I throw a Tyrande Owl? I know I've been stuck on this Tyrande thing, but what is this? That blows my mind. Okay. I mean, you know, if it's my teammates in my games, this will make no difference. They never jump in anyway, but oh my goodness. Okay. Because that was such a central part of this game, was about manipulating the jump aggro and about following up on the jump aggro. Like maybe you got your Stukov ready with a lurking arm as soon as they jump over. So that really surprises me. And I'm wondering, is it a gate only exception? Will it not jump over a sidewall? Will it not jump over a fort? You know, like what can actually get in this way? Is it just gates? But skeleton minions damage reduced by 25. To be honest, these things never really hurt anyway. This is the crazy change. Wait. They have 100 less HP, but now they have 20 magic armor with a lowercase m, I see. So is there something like physical damage base that's really good at clearing them out? I'm sure that something would come to me, but like a lot of the stuff I think of as far as like mass clearing them and getting a bunch of resets is spell damage, but I don't know, man. This to me seems a little bit like change for the sake of change. Maybe they just want to make autoers better here. I'm not sure, but this is the whole star of the show. The Punisher's no longer leaping over the gates. I don't know what's going on there. Sky Temple, I see Guardian Mighty Swing for all 4 changes. What do we got here? It doesn't knock you back for as long. It's now interrupted by other knockback effects. The speed increased to match. Okay, so it knocks you back for the same... Oh, it knocks you back for the same distance, but for less time. And it will now interrupt any... Okay. I mean, there's nothing really exciting to talk about there, but okay. This was something that you could use for escape, and it seems like it'll be even better escape now, so a little bit more playmaking on Sky Temple, maybe. The nuke damage was a flat 2300 damage before, now it's 1000 plus 12.5%. I'll be honest with you, I thought this was percent already, so hey, they're just making it match my reality. I'd have to see the math to see how that compares with some other characters, but that's interesting. For now, I don't know the math, so I'm just going to kind of go right past that one. Nukes now ignite structures, dealing 0.8% of their health per second for 12 seconds. So what, that's like almost 10%? That's like 9.6%? Okay. Attacking the building will refresh the duration up to 8... Oh. Okay, so if you just nuke... If you nuke a side lane unattended, that building is just instantly gone. Yeah, so nukes now take 2.5 seconds to launch, up from 1.5. Yeah, because you used to cast nukes right in people's faces, so it seems like they want to encourage now using them actually more of like a split push tool. And keep in mind, you already basically have a split push, or you're already having your split push buffed with the inspiring of minions when you attack near them. And this just says attacking the building. This doesn't say a heroic basic attack, so even the minions could maybe hypothetically refresh the duration. So what, could you nuke a fort and like there's a minion wave there, the nuke took out the minion wave, and now your minions just refresh the thing and it just dies completely unattended? There would now be fewer nukes that spawn? Okay, see, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's kind of like Blackheart's making the objective a little less the entire picture here. I don't know how I feel about this change. I mean, I guess you really need to control around the map now, and it'll be really valuable to have those long-range nuke interrupts. But to be honest with you guys, I'm not thinking about Warhead or Blackhearts or Hatamura if I can help it. Let's go to the heroes here. What? Okay, I saw the second line, and when I only saw this first line, I was like, what is going on? Okay, so let's think. If you're full double soaking and you're getting all the globes, there's 2 waves a minute, there's 2 lanes, so you're getting 4 globes a minute. So if you're getting 4 globes per minute, then in the span of a minute, you would have shaved off 200 seconds. So it's like kind of, if you're double soaking, it's kind of quadrupling the cooldown rate. And this is a little bit more than a tripling of the cooldown. So I guess if you're full on double soaking, it's probably a shorter cooldown. But somebody messaged me about this earlier, about how this could potentially make Dahaka more relevant in Globe Comp, where you have an Alexstrasza with the W talent, the Abundance talent at level 1, and she ends up spawning regen globes after she gets 15 globes. Because I could totally see what could happen now is you go to Dahaka in this comp, the Dahaka Z's in for a fight, and then gets a globe from the Alexstrasza, gets 1 from the nearby minion wave, maybe even gets 1 from the camp, because you're very likely invading a camp. And then boom, that's 150 seconds gone off the cooldown right there. You know, it's not instant. He can't Z back out or anything, but I am really tempted to see if the Haka is a significant force in Globe Comp now. But this change is mad weird, just more than anything. I'm wondering, does this make certain situations, like, is he a lot worse on Battlefield of Eternity now, for example? And maybe on Braxis Holdout. Braxis, you can get a surprisingly high amount of globes for a 2-lane map because it has the regen globe generator on the side. But suppose you're into a matchup that controls that globe generator pretty well. It seems like the Haka would just be so much worse in that situation, and maybe wouldn't be that much better even if he is getting the globes, from what I can tell. So I'd need somebody else to math this out, and I don't want to sit here, you know, grinding out the numbers, but this, to me, just blanketly very, like, a blunt surface reaction looks like a nerf, but this is also goofy. Yeah, because if it's 190 seconds off the cooldown with Apex Predator, then that means you just need one regen globe and then you get it. So you could Z somewhere, get a globe, like Z to a wave, get a globe, Z to another wave, get a globe. I wonder if you could triple soak like that. Probably, right? You just one-shot mid-wave, especially if you can get it before it crashes, Z over to side lane. Now, how often do you actually want to be doing that? And does needing to do that indicate that you're probably in a desperate situation? Probably, but there's interesting application here. But this is just such a weird change. And wait. I thought I was like almost through, like because I've only heard people talking about this map thing, and I look over at the scroll and we're barely down into this. Okay. I gotta keep it moving. Fiery Brand, attacking a different hero from the last hero attacked, now resets progress on the previously attacked hero. I honestly thought that was how it worked already. Blinds and evasion now prevent any progress from being granted. It's a surprise that we still had one of these interactions in the game. This used to be the case on a lot of other stuff in the game, like Zul'jin auto attacks for his infinite damage stacking quest, Rest in Peace. They used to scale even if you were blind or evading. If the target gains stasis or invulnerable, progress will be lost. Yeah, that seems pretty consistent with a lot of other stuff. And stacks now lasts 300 seconds. Okay, so that matters what, like, if you hit somebody in Hearth or hit somebody in Die. Kael'thas Rebirth, I believe this is the Phoenix talent that lets you move it around, but you could only move it one time to reposition the Phoenix, and now getting to move it 3 charges, that actually makes it seem like that'll be a really, really good talent. And I will say, it always felt a little awkward to me. Like, I played a Kael'thas game maybe about a week or two ago, and I didn't pick any Q talents the entire time. I didn't have it at 1, I didn't have it at 7, I didn't even have Ignite at 16, but I still ended up going the Q at 20, and it felt just kind of awkward. I was like, man, none of my build is going in this Q, but, you know, should I just go Phoenix? And then now I feel like if I had this change, I would have just no doubt gone Phoenix every time. This is a significant buff to its consistency, to its ability to chase. This is really nice. All right, Butcher, Brutal Strike, now loses stacks when attacking. Okay, yeah, this is just, I don't think I ever even picked this one anyway. This is your buff auto attack damage after you hit Qs, but it's good to make this more consistent with other stuff. It's kind of an irrelevant change. Lost Vikings, Longboat Raid. Oh, please tell me we buffed Longboat. Please, dude. Every Vikings player that I ever talked to says this talent is garbage. Decreased move speed no longer decreases the Longboat Raid's starting speed and now reduces Longboat Raid's move speed by 10. I have no idea what that means. Vikings players, please help me out here. Thrall, new 7. After using a basic or heroic ability, Thrall's next basic attack within 4 seconds deals 45% more damage. I mean, what does this do right now? What is the Elemental Assault? Follow through got removed. So follow through is just after using an ability. So an ability is your basic or heroic, right? Like, do you have any other kinds of abilities? I don't think actives count for this, do they? Because like Zeratul's Vorpal Blade doesn't trigger Might of the Nerazim crits, for example, so that seems the same as this opening part. But next basic attack within 4 seconds deals 45% more damage, so it seems really weird to change the wording, and when this is really not that much of a change. Like, this just seems like you could have just modified the existing talent, but yeah, I guess if you're bursting people, you get 5% more damage a few times, so that's nice. Nothing really to write home about. Alright, Uther, get an extra 1/4 range on his Q. Range is no longer increased after selecting Holy Shock? What? Does this just... That's such a huge blow to Q build, though, is it not? Getting 3/4 less range? Like, 0.75 less range? I mean, okay, I guess. I don't That's interesting. I mean, baseline Uther is going to be very, very slightly better. Again, this is just kind of feels like tuning the knob just cause. I don't know if Q build was dominant or something in the stats. Let's see, Holy Shock. No longer grants reduced cooldown or mana cost, instead costs less mana and has a lower cooldown. What? So, hold on. Can be used on an enemy when he's way. No longer grants reduced cooldown, but instead has a lower cooldown? Is this saying that it still triggers when you heal an ally with it? Or... I guess if your Q has a lower total cooldown than that... No, I really have no idea. I'm not 100% sure what they mean by this distinction here, but... When does this even matter? How does this even matter? I'm not quite sure. If anybody could explain that, that would be fantastic. Now features its own active button? Oh, that's a really nice change, actually. Dude, reading this, I'm pretty sure we're already past the R's. Yeah, like Rhaegar would have already been here. But putting Holy Shock on its own active button, everybody that plays Rhaegar has been begging to get this on him. If we could please just separate the offensive use of Purge that slows an enemy and the friendly use of Purge that cleanses an ally, that would make the hero feel so much better to play. Please, you can nerf him at the same time. He's already dominant in Storm League, I get it. But please, I see what you've done for others, and do this to my orc man. Alrighty, Valera. Slice and dice, what the hell does this talent do, dude? I'm keeping it at 100 with you, man, I don't know. Eviscerating an enemy with 3 combo points grants 150% attack speed. Last 3 seconds or 3 basic attacks, and you get some energy from basic attacks, okay. Grants 400% attack speed. Hold on. What's her attack speed? Her attack speed is 2 per second. And so plus 300%. No, that's not. That wouldn't cause her. The attack speed cap is 16 per second, not 8 per second. So she's at no real threat of hitting it. But if you get plus 400%, then she would attack 10 times per second. Of course, she attacked 3 times and it's gone. Cooldown for the next attack after the third will not be reduced. Okay. So do you lose the basic attacks restore 2 energy? I mean, this just... I feel like I see Valera go this 7 every single time, right? And, you know, the 2 Valeras that I've seen in the last 15 years. So this is like, okay. Varian, Warbringer. Warbringer mana cost reduction reduced by 2.5. Okay. Okay. Cooldown reduction. Ooh, the cooldown reduction on Demoralizing Shout was increased. Wasn't there a buff to Demoralizing Shout a couple patches ago? Am I misremembering? Yeah, it was the fact that it got CDR at all. And so now we're actually doubling the CDR. 5% of 20 seconds is what, 1 second, I want to say? So rather than getting a half a second off, you get 1 second off. I mean, to be honest, I could see this being really good depending on the matchup, right? This heavily depends on the tick rate of the ability. If you have something that does really chunky, big, slow instances of damage, it's not going to be super relevant, the cooldown reduction. But if you have something that attacks really fast, like a Lucio or a Tassadar that's not an Archon, or especially a Tracer, then that could be a lot of cooldown reductions. That's a really interesting change. It's just kind of sucks because it's so hard to beat giving everybody around you this bonus healing received and getting your banner back all the time. And then a lot of times you got like spell power. So, you know, that spell power means that you're doing more healing and then you're multiplying that healing. Or if you even had Banner of Ironforge, which to my understanding is not as common as the other two because it has a significantly longer CD. But even with this one, they're taking less damage, they're getting more healing. Like, this 20 for Banner is just so dang good. But hey, I mean, if you're getting a second off Demoralizing Shout every time you reduce damage, and you might be able to chain 2 of those together, you know, maybe that's crazy. Maybe that's crazy. Sky Temple, fix an issue that caused roots to prevent Guardian Mighty Swing knockback. Alarak Mocking Strikes, fix an issue caused basic attacks displayed incorrectly. Okay. Some UI updates. That's probably nice, whatever that is. Buff bar updated, show duration, final color reduce. Okay, so some more consistency with the blinds while we're auto-attacking. That's always good. Because HOTS could certainly use that consistency, let me tell you, man. Titan Killer damage on Artanis is now dealt before the primary basic attack damage. All our associated effects will still occur if this still kills the target. Okay. Not sure how that matters, but alright. Okay. to deal more damage than intended to non-heroes. Ooh, this actually kind of sucks because I love Tide of Sin, the level 10 right here. This is actually usually my preferred Asmodan ult. I don't play a lot of him, but I like having the ability to stay with my team and buff my Qs, hit the waves from a long distance, and stay with them. So this getting a nerf makes me a little bit sad, even though I barely ever play that. More visual stuff. Nice death recap thing, that's always good, because death recap is also one of those things that could use it. Pride displays as a quest, that makes sense, it is a quest. Okay, UI changes. That is interesting. Movement speed now gradually decays over is duration instead of in chunks. I'd need someone to crunch the numbers and to compare the code before and after to see how much that really matters, but that's interesting. Oh, looks like Cassie had a bug giving her way too much damage. Oh, that's an interesting change. Charge Strikes now applies to the next basic attack that is fired instead of the next basic attack that connects. Because taking advantage of this kind of interaction has always been a thing in HOTS. Like, I remember way back in the early days when Tassadar did not have the beam attack and instead actually threw a projectile at you. So you would throw the projectile and then shield yourself so that you would get lifesteal on that auto attack that was already flying. So it's super interesting to see, you know, like something that I've just considered part of HOTS for over a decade to be getting changed like that in one of these interactions. It's very interesting. More stuff in the buff bar, big fan of that. Now increases in progress and Cassia fires your basic attack instead of after the missile impact. Also a little bit less effective duration on charge strikes, that sucks. Or progress? Oh, never mind. I was thinking of the old charge strikes, that was a timed buff. No, that's actually nice. Especially if this means that you get progress when you're blinded, if before you wouldn't have. It's not clear from the patch note. Martial law, bonus damage. Is somebody in the chat, please tell me, is there any significance to dealing the percentage damage before the basic attack damage that I'm not thinking of? Okay, so slight nerf to Panda Pals. Slight nerf to Panda Pals. And then a change that doesn't super matter, it's just cosmetic. I mean, I get that you're going for the consistency and hats off to you, but man, show Stormearth and Fire some love, dude. I love this skill so much. But you just buffed the absolute out of knockbacks last patch. And then now you're kicking Stormearth and Fire while it's down, man. This thing has a cooldown of approximately 19 minutes, dude. All right, I cast it one time, I got into next game, and it was still on cooldown. Please work with me, Blizzard. All right, let's see. Cho'Gall Shove. Fix an issue that caused Shove to not push Cho if he is rooted. I don't know if I ever experienced that one, but that is nice. Slight Cho'Gall fix or buffs through bug fix. Okay. I mean, some changes don't really matter. Sandblast. Sand Echo will now be revealed to the target when hit by Sand Echo's basic attack. Wait, that's so toxic. You could be getting autoed by a Sand Echo and not even know it was there? That's insane. I love that. Sand Echo will now be revealed when their basic attacks are Sandblast. Why is this under... Isn't this just the same change here? Did they change Unraveling and then just copy-paste the wrong thing and forget to put what they changed? Because I think Unraveling is the slowing sands 20 that is always one of the lowest win rate 20s in the game. Yeah. So I remember I recently was looking through every hero's stats. I say recently, this was maybe 6 months ago now. I looked through every hero's stats on Hero's profile, and only 2 heroes, if I remember correctly, had level 20 talents, or perhaps more accurately, heroic talents, that were under 50% win rate. And multiple of them were on Medivh, and the only non-Medivh one was Unraveling on Chromie. And of course, part of that is the sort of deflationary aspect of the fact that Chromie gets her heroic tier talent, but that doesn't mean that her whole team has a heroic talent tier advantage. So it's not going to be, pumped up by that aspect that other 20s normally are, because it's not a level 20. But still, this talent always seemed pretty questionable to me, so I hope that this is some good change to that talent that they just didn't document correctly. Okay, weird Deathwing mirror match stuff. Refreshed in duration when reapplied. Ooh, that sounds really nice if it wasn't doing that before. Visual bug. This change, I wonder if this means she gets more change if she's hitting an entire wave than she would have before. I'm not sure. Healing visuals no longer occur. Okay, just more stuff about autoing blinded or evading. More of the percent damage being dealt first. Oh, wow. Okay, I did not expect more stuff to be along this line. I kind of thought it would just be charge strikes, but no, this might actually be a consistent design decision. Honestly, even though it's something that's been on the game in the game for a long time, the fact that you will get a buff and then it will apply to an ability that's already in the air, a projectile that's already in the air, I like that. To me, it feeds into the idea of everything in HOTS being dynamic, being entirely calculated at the moment of impact rather than the moment of casting. But I also don't mind if it gets changed the other way. Defense Matrix applied to Gazlo to not reduce turret damage. Oh, that's kind of crazy, actually, for the 3 times per millennium that the Gazlo versus Diva matchup would happen. That his turret damage wouldn't get reduced. Okay. A lot of bug fixes in this patch. My goodness, the janitor dude just had a list of these things and just goes through them day by day. My goodness. Okay. This... Okay, it's... Okay. Nothing crazy in there. Fix an issue that caused Go for the Throat to play its cast animation on the target when Greymane targets another Greymane. That's so weird. I don't know if I've ever seen that. A percent thing. Hunter's Blunderbuss now occurs while blinded? Wait, so you miss auto attacks on more targets? What does this mean? What do you mean now occurs while blinded? Would you just miss all the other attacks unless there's like a slight delay? And then maybe like you were blinded for the first initial hit but not for the splash? Huh. I have no idea the significance of this change for now searches after all effects on the primary target have completed. I don't know what that changes. Man, some of these changes make me feel dumb, dude. I'm like, what does this even mean? And I feel like someone that's watching this leader is going to be screaming their head off. Like, no, Mochrie, it matters so much, you have no idea. More of this weird mirror match stuff. We saw it with Deathwing as well and Greymane. More of this stuff. Yeah, a lot of this is padded by the fact that a lot of this is like the same kind of couple changes, just being stretched out across heroes, but okay. What? Imperius was getting benefits as if he had burned the marks when they were actually just getting invulnerable or stasis? That's interesting. This looks like they're just listing the same change twice. Valor's brands are no longer consumed if Imperius is blinded or if the target is evading. That seems... So was it that the marks would get consumed but they wouldn't do damage? Or was it that he could burn his marks and still deal the damage even if he was blinded? Because that impacts whether this is a buff or a nerf, and I'd love to hear if anybody knows the answer. Burn the Impure. Bonus damage is now dealt before the... visual changes. More of the same stuff that we've been seeing this whole time. Since blinds no longer consume Valor's plans, is now prevented by those effects. Water Elemental. Fixed an issue that caused Water Elemental's basic attack splash to hit evading targets. That sucks. Water Elemental's basic attack splash no longer reveals the targets it hits, but it does reveal the area. I mean, how often is that going to matter, really? How often is it going to matter that it reveals the area around the attack compared to revealing the target? I'm struggling to think of examples off the top of my head. It entirely depends on how big the area is, right? Because now I guess you could reveal like Chromie traps and Zagara tumors. Those are the two most prominent things that come to mind, or like a true stealth hero that's standing right next to them, but that almost never happens. Fixed an issue that caused Condemned to pull unstoppable targets. I saw this, dude. People were booping and tugging Deathwing as Lucio and Johanna. It looks so funny. So basic attack splash damage now occurs while blinded, but is still prevented by evading targets. So hold up. With this and with Greymane, does this mean that you get all the AoE damage, you just don't get the primary target? Because that is actually kind of crazy. That makes these characters significantly better into blinds. You know, I'm not going to say that it means, you know, go ahead and pick your Greymane into a bunch of blinds because at level 20 he gets a more beneficial interaction. I'm just saying that this matters. Okay. So it looks like Phoenix had a similar issue as Gazlo turrets, where it wasn't getting reduced by defense matrix. It now reveals the area instead of the target, so same thing as the other thing we just saw. Oh, I'm a little sad they didn't fix the Kel'Thuzad level 13. There's, I want to say it's the cooldown reduction level 13. I've seen a bunch of bug submissions of people saying that it's not giving the cooldown reduction. But getting the double reveal on chain link connection is nice. I'm not really sure when it matters. I guess it would show you, at minimum, it would show you if you chained a clone, right? Because clones, when you reveal them, they get like this weird film over their skin. Okay, and then Damned Return had a similar thing to those sand echoes, where you just wouldn't even see it even though it's dealing damage. That's crazy. Same thing we saw elsewhere. Yeah, a lot of these mirror match mobility ability stuff. Tal Rasha's elements bonus is now additive instead of multiplicative. Oh yeah, that's going to be a nerf to Charge Blast with that specific 20. Oh, I really like that. Yeah, Seeker showing in the death recap as its own entry. I mean, just lots of little nice UI changes in this patch. Those are nice. But like, there's a lot of this reordering of when certain ability damages go off, and I'm just like, does this matter, really? Like, when does this actually do anything? A lot of Lucio. Oh, crossfades from different Lucios can now stack together. Praise, dude. I picked a double Lucio in ARAM one time, and it was garbaggio. All right, you couldn't have the two of the same W on the targets at the same time, and you couldn't both press your E heal at the same time. You had to completely stagger everything, and it was garbage. Oh, I'm so thankful for this change, actually. Display of affected allies of crossfade now includes targets in the boombox crossfade radius. I mean, I never picked boombox, but nice, good for them. There's that issue I was telling you about before, where Lucio could push Deathwing. Okay, just lots of small little bug fixes. The ARAM change is really big. Summer Anthem apparently wasn't applying in Boombox. I mean, I didn't pick either of those talents. Okay, Lunara Wild Vigor. Oh, that's such a significant nerf to the talent. So I learned about this from this guy, Razhag, that Wild Vigor, which buffs Lunara's next 4 auto attacks after you press your slow button, it would actually only buff the next 4 auto attacks that successfully hit the target. So if the target was blinded, it wouldn't land on them. But that to me was like, maybe if I had to pick one way I would ever not go one of the other 2 7s, I would go this. But they went and took it out. So what's going on? I just don't really see a reason to pick that talent, to be honest. Zebo had the same thing with the defense matrix. Small little bugs. Small little quality of life stuff, it looks like, yeah. Fix an issue that caused Backbiter to not move Orphea if she is rooted. Okay, this patch was, or this bug was actually introduced last patch. It's really good to know that it was a bug and not intended, because that is a big deal. Let's see. Fix an issue that caused Crushing Jaws pull to not apply correctly. I'm very curious to see what that means. If that's something that is consistently noticeable, or if it's just some edge case interaction. Rainer level 7 unstable compound. Mana restored is now bundled together when multiple heroes are hit. Love that. You know, it's the same thing as like Scatter Arrow on Hanzo. You used to see it as 5 to 7 different numbers. Now you see it as one big number. Sounds like this is the same thing. Really good change. Rhaegar could still get the crit from his 16 even if he was blinded? That's kind of crazy. Okay, Dire Beast is not that good of a 13, so this is alright. Blind Invasion now prevent activation. Okay, there was a lot more stuff that applied through Blind Invasion than I realized. Good lord. Nice quality of life change on the Hammer Ambush. Really love that. Okay, combining the mana restoration, just more... It seems like it's basically just UI niceties. Oh! Guys, our amor is going to be reduced for longer. That's actually a really nice change, and then, to be honest, that's how I assumed that Hammer's Q20 worked anyway. But go ahead and grab your wife real tight because your amor is going to be reduced before you know it, baby. Alright, let's see. Same stuff we've been seeing with Sonya. Yeah. Lot of real nice, just making the UI just a little bit more convenient. Now happens prior to all other effects when a basic attack would grant progress. I mean, when do these matter? Okay, more of this blind stuff, more death recap stuff. Roughly affected by other damage modifiers when empowered by explosive attacks. Okay, dude, this is all just like tiny little bug fixes. It's crazy. I get why everybody was talking about the structure changes because those are a massive deal, but just hats off to you, Janitor. If you're watching this, I want you to know that we see you, or maybe this is even a team of people, just we see y'all's commitment to making the game feel more convenient, to just getting rid of a lot of these little inconveniences. I will say the change to give an indicator to renew when this game wasn't really getting a lot of attention, even relative to this, like it was getting like way less. I just wished in my heart of hearts for Renew to have an indicator. So the fact that it finally got one, I was so over the moon about that. And I see that you guys are still just pouring through all these changes. So well done. Well done. Okay. Fix an issue that caused charge to go on cooldown when targeting enemies near Olaf's position. Ugh, that sucks that could even happen. Not really sure what this move speed change means. Explosive attacks on level 1 is now a multiplicative bonus. Anytime you have these kinds of changes, it's really promising as to how it stacks with other bonuses, so keep an eye on explosive attacks on Vikings 1. The initial third Wind Fury attack now features impact visuals. Nice. There's, you know, a little meteor, a little noticeable. Focus fire no longer progresses while blinded or against evading enemies. Stop! His talent was already dead. I mean, you know, the win rate was never terrible, right? You pick any Tracer 7 and it's still going to give you a lot, but this was already, in my opinion, easily the worst 7 in terms of making an argument for. And that is a significant, because keep in mind, guys, that means you go through an entire magazine, and if you get a single attack in that whole magazine evaded or blinded, then you're not triggering the damage till at best your entire next magazine. That is such a crazy nerf to this talent in some situations. Ideally, like, I mean, obviously you're not going to spend that many times where you're going to like only miss one auto attack from this, and it you know, but like, even if you're blinded for like a quarter second and you miss a little bit of autoing, you still would have gotten the focus fire. Like, this talent was already the worst 7. Okay, more stuff on the buff bar, death recaps. Guardian of Ancient Kings' duration is now increased by talents that grant additional devotion armor duration? Okay, wait. Why does this say level 4? Am I tripping? Hold on. Why does it say... Yeah, no, that's a level 7, dog. Don't scare me like that. Don't scare me like that. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Benediction. Oh, this change. I will say this, I think, will actually make Valo feel nicer to play, although technically not as powerful. Because it used to be like a really big deal that you could auto someone with Farflight Quiver, the level 20 range extension, and it would take so long to reach the target that you could then roll to buff that attack that was fired way before you ever rolled, and you could get kills that way. But oftentimes, I would just roll trying to get a reset with my Death Dealer and accidentally apply the damage to the wrong auto attack. And so it's kind of awkward. You know, it's kind of nice sometimes, like, ooh, I got the damage earlier than I thought, but to me, this will make her a little more straightforward to pilot, even if it's technically maybe not as strong in certain situations. Okay, incorrect values in the front end. More blind and evasion stuff. More defense matrix stuff. Against fire attack berserk active. Okay. Okay. This was padded by a crazy amount of bug fixes and everything. I kind of wish that they would condense these things a little bit, just to, in the interest of readability, be like, oh, we changed some effects to not work the same when it's applied to a blinded or evading target. These are those effects, and then they could just list them rather than, you know, separately listing it out for each one. But I can see why easily the star of the show here, easily, is the Dahaka, but more importantly, the building changes here. I gave a few cursory thoughts about these at the start of the game. I'm just... Oh, you know something? I hadn't thought about this before. So I was mentioning, oh, you know, Tyrande seems like she's going to be insane. It seems like it's going to be insane to intentionally pop the armor on one target and go on the other one and whatnot. Something I hadn't thought about, though, is what if you're trying to tower dive a Garrosh, dude? That character is actually just going to be immortal if he's sitting under a tower now. Because Garrosh has the only source of armor stacking in the game, where Garrosh's trait stacks with other sources of armor. It's the only armor that stacks with other armor in the game. And as I mentioned at one point earlier in this video, armor gets more valuable the more of it that you have. So very realistically, you could try to dive a Garrosh and then he has 75 armor. I mean, already, realistically, it's probably a terrible idea to tower dive a Garrosh anyway, so this will be seemingly a bit of a noob check, but I could definitely see a clip of like 3 people trying to dive a Garrosh and just all massively regretting it, and I need to see it in my life now. Whew. Call for help. I feel like I'm going to be a bit sad that it's gone, but also I wasn't really happy when it arrived at the same time, you know? Like, I've seen people have very, very strong reactions to these changes, but I always feel like we should at least give them a chance, you know? I still really, really want to see how this impacts the split pushing meta, the death ball meta, see how this impacts the tower dive meta. Because, you know, like, what, can you get like a Murden or something, and he tanks for your death ball, you know, he's got the consistent rolling HP, but then he's also really capable of tower diving? And maybe he goes and, oh, I don't know, thunderclaps one target to burn the 50 armor on them, and then jumps on the person you actually want to kill? I mean, the possibilities are endless. My initial read is that there's going to be way more tower diving, at least in coordinated environments where you are very intentionally burning the 50 armor. But I mean, like, even if you're just playing a single character, I feel like a lot of single characters would really be able to abuse this 4-second cooldown. Because like a Tracer could just auto someone, reload, and then go all in on the person she's gonna dive, and not have to worry about call for help at all. This is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna be a doomer about any of these changes. I am really, really intrigued to see how the game feels differently. This mercenary camp spawning at 30 seconds thing, I need to see you guys picking early game PvP characters. You know, like, I've seen people being like, oh, does this just buff split pushing and all that? Does this buff macro? But, you know, what if the other team goes Azmodan, right? Maybe they go Azmodan and Zebo, and then you just pick stuff that kicks their teeth in at the 30-second mark, and then it's like, yeah, cool, you get to scale in the mid-game. What if you don't get to the mid-game because I just stole all your stuff right at the start of the game? This is really, really, really weird, and I'm here for it, baby. Let's get spicy. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging with me. I gotta get to bed. I gotta go work in the morning, but y'all have a wonderful night, and thanks for being here with me.